I'm Adam Moz, and this is Moz Models. Welcome back to this gear review. Today we have the new FrSky power switch. Simple name, relatively simple functionality, does exactly what it says on the tin, and a couple extras. Now what this is it is essentially the big brother to the older NFC switch, and I'm just going to bring in the NFC switch. This is the NFC switch. It's a little thing. I've done a video on it, I think, before, but the NFC switch is very simple. It's literally a switch. It's got an output, it's got an input, and it's got a connector that goes to an NFC pad, which I've got right here. I've actually just borrowed it from that one. The NFC switch does come with the NFC pad, or the NFC pad is available separately. Note, the power switch, however, does not come with the NFC pad. What it does come with is this wiring harness for the NFC pad and a S-port and F-bus connector. If you buy the NFC pad standalone, you get the pad, you get the little tap unit, and you get a 5-pin to 3-pin harness connector suitable for plugging into the receivers or the RBs with power switch functionality. So that's all the 12 and 18 port receivers, as well as the new RB35, RB25, and I believe it works with the RB30, 30 plus, and 40 as well from the older generation units. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. I've still never gotten my mitts on the older RBs, except for the original RB and RB20, which don't have power switch functionality. So for this, if you want to use it, if you want to use the remote switching functionality, you do have to buy the pad as well, but you will, despite the fact the pad doesn't come with the right cable, this will have the right cable in the box. Now, what has it got? It's got dual XT30 battery in, dual XT30 BEC output. It's only a single BEC. You have a very, very solid aluminum case. It's very robust. A switch connector for the NFC switch, S-port connector. That's also your F-bus connector. It'll auto-detect between F-bus and S-port. Does work with both. And then you have a set of battery lights that says what your BEC's set to and whether or not you're getting S-port. And there's a little tiny switch there that allows you to cycle through the various settings. If you're not, you can use this as a standalone switch without any telemetry integration. And the BEC is still selectable. By just clicking through, it'll cycle through there. In terms of batteries, it supports 2S through 6S, although if you do use a 2S lithium ion or LiPo, be aware that you really can only use the 5 and 6 volt settings on the BEC. You don't have enough overhead. Like, there needs to be a 1+ volt gap between the lowest battery voltage you're going to see and the BEC output for the BEC output to stay stable. So that means if you want to use anything over 6 volts on your BEC, you're going to need to use a minimum of 3S battery. That's why they rate this for 3 to 6S. It will work fine on a 2S pack if you're only looking to get 5 or 6 volts out of it. Currently I got this set up for 6 volts. You can set the BEC this way. You can also set the BEC in the script, and you get BEC voltage, battery 1 voltage and current, battery 2 voltage and current, as well as the ability to set the battery draw type. You can either set what they call master slave. I prefer to call it an active passive setup. I'm an IT guy. I think active passive from failover. And what that means is you've got the primary battery. When the primary battery drops to the kick point, which is configurable, it kicks over to the secondary battery. And there's balance where you want to have 2 identical batteries and draw both of them down to maximize your capacity. If one goes offline, it'll continue to draw off the rest, but you're not getting failover. For my setups, the active-passive works better, mostly because I don't run anything terribly big. I'm not running two 3S5000 receiver packs, or 2S5000 receiver packs. I'm typically running a 1500 to 2000 milliamp primary pack, and then I'll just put a little 3S 450 in there, one of my micro packs, just in case. This is the setup I've got in my Escapade with the RB35S. This is the setup that I'm going to use with this one when it gets installed in an aircraft. I find that works pretty well for my needs. May not work for yours. You can set it up as you need. Out of the box, it's just going to do balance. Now, let's take a look at what we get here. So I'm going to just zoom out, and what I've got here is I got a TDR18, and we're just going to plug into port 10 because I've configured port 10 on this already to FBus, because I did test this out before I did anything. So let's actually, sorry, before I do that, I need a wiring harness because I don't have any XT30 to XT30 extensions. So we're going to do something a little silly here. This is a setup for a completely different install, but it will work fine here if you were, say, powering a TDR10 would be a good example. Actually, now let's show this with the TDR10 just so we get that correct. So I'll just take the TDR10, I'll plug into port 10. And let me just fire up the radio. Okay, so, got the radio here, and like I said, I'm just going to use a 2S Lifey because this is 2S Light lithium ion 5000 pack. It's actually, because I happen to have a couple of these lying around and they're charged. So you can see it's come up, it's set, it's 5 volts, and S-Port is talking, and you can just use this to little button. And here we've got the NFC pad, and I've got the NFC tap, and it will go off, and this light comes on. That shows that this is active. This does draw around 10-11 milliamps when it's in this configuration with everything off. So if you are using this setup, it's fine to sit around all day at the field. When you're done and you're packing up, disconnect your receiver packs or you'll kill them when it's sitting in storage. And this comes back up. So let us just oh yeah, sorry. Okay. Looks like I need to register this receiver. So, by the way, this makes registering way easier. So I'll just bring this in here. You can see it. I registered it. Okay. Going to bind it, and there we go, and there we go. Okay. So now you can see I've got it up, got the receiver up. The first thing I need to do is go set options. I scroll all the way down to pin 10, and so scroll all the way down to FBus. It's the last option. Reason for that is now we can control the power switch. And I'm just going to, so you can see that. So now let's go over to telemetry. I'm just going to discover and off. So you can see I've got battery 1 voltage, battery 1 current, battery 2 voltage, battery 2 current. Right now I've only got a battery on battery 1, so it's 7.9 volt and it's drawing about 100 milliamps, which is really what you're going to expect from one of these receivers. and then it's getting 4.96 volts RX battery, and if you go down, back voltage is 5 volts. It's 0.04 volt drift. That's totally understandable. And I'll just to demonstrate, we'll pop this off here, plug it in here, wait for everything to recover, and you're getting the same receiver battery setting. This is not a dual independent back like the RBs, or the RB30 and 35 and 40. This is a single back with dual output. That really allows for you to have the button-based setting. And you can see if we go up, and okay, I got to double check that. There we go. So I bumped it up. Now we're at 7.4 volts. We're getting, giving us 7.1. The reason for that is very simple. I only putting 7.9 volts in. I've hit the limit, and what I did was, you press to get the selection, and then you held it down. So we'll go. There. Now we go back down. We're getting 6 volts RX battery and 6 volts output. We just hit the headroom of the battery. If we were using a higher voltage battery, a 3S or higher, you would have gotten the correct voltage for 7.4 volts instead of 7.1. Now, there's also, I'm going to go over here and scroll and scroll. There's a Lua called Power Switch. You can download this from the FrSky page and throw it in your scripts directory. And we go in here and give it a moment. You can change the physical ID and app ID. That is, so you can actually run multiples of this. If you want to run a second one to provide a independent power, regulated power supply for your retracts, for example, you can do that. You can see the S-Spec voltage is set to 6. If we can go down and set that to 5.5, I'm just going to set it there because that's a bit of a different one, so we'll easily be able to show. Battery mode is balance. You can set that to master slaver, and we could set the kick voltage, which is up at way high. Yeah, it goes down to 7.4 volts because really that's the lowest one you're ever going to want to run with these. So let's set it to 7.5 volts and go back, master slave. Yeah, it's not liking taking master slave right now, probably because I don't have another battery set up on it, but I'll verify that afterwards. And now if we go back and go over to telemetry, let's go see what voltage we're getting. And 5.5 volts. And let's just power cycle and reset. Oh, there we go. Oh, back voltage is updating. I'm wrong on that. I thought it was just going to give us whatever this setting was, but no, it'll give us whatever the setting is. Just remember to power cycle it so so it updates the settings. But that is really it for the power switch. It's a relatively simple but powerful unit. Gives you a dual input, balance, or master slave, or if you want to call it active passive, I prefer that term. And you get all the telemetry you'd want from it. And of course, because those are telemetry, you can set up all the alarms you want based on it. It's a great little unit. It's really robust. This is not for a small airplane, let's just be honest. Even for something like a 60-sized airplane, it's probably overkill. 20 cc and higher, you got some very valuable stuff from this perspective. It's dual XT30N, so you can run a ton of high voltage servos off this. It's not even going to blink. It's going to give you all your data, tell you exactly what both batteries are doing, and it supports the NFC pad, which, as I noted, is sold separately. So you are going to have to buy the NFC pad separately for this unit if you want to use this as a power switch and back instead of just as a dual back. There you have it.